So people are blowing smoke up your patoot all the time. Your bosses will be doing that. Feedback is so hard. You need those truth. The way to cut through this is finding those truth tellers, and then appreciating them, paying them, giving, right, sending them presents at Christmas because you need them to grow. You limber? You loose?
No, I am not. I am not limber. No, I am not.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. Dun, 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 dun. It's the Bob and Josh Show.
This is going to be a tough episode for Bob. We're talking about weaknesses. And pre-recording, he talked about how he doesn't even know what to talk about because he's barely aware that the word exists.
I know.
But that's part of the problem that we see out there, and we'll set the stage a little bit here in that as you move through your career and your leadership roles get bigger, broader, larger, whatever word you want to use, the feedback you get goes down. So as your responsibility goes up, your feedback goes down. And that leads to many leaders just operating in a position where they're not aware of the weaknesses that they have. So today's episode, we'll talk about some of the weaknesses that we've worked through as leaders, ways that you can farm for those, and ultimately a challenge of getting you to find one weakness that you have in your leadership approach, style, whatever it might be, and start working on that. So that's today's episode. We're going to talk about everybody having some weaknesses, but that's okay. We all have them, and we're all going to fix them. Bob, I hope you can handle this one.
Well, why don't we start with the phenomenon? And we've talked about this. You've talked more, I think, in the Metacast than me sometimes. But there is a phenomenon in Metacasters where as you grow in leadership, your feedback diminishes. And it's almost like a rule, like a law of gravity, and there's the law of diminishing feedback as you move up a hierarchy. I think that's surprising to leaders. And I also don't know if they're all aware that it's happening. So sometimes, like, if you think that, no feedback is good feedback, right, which means I have no, issues or things like that, then that's a flawed assumption because it's the hierarchy that's limiting things, not your excellent performance as a leader. But I think that happens to every leader, and therefore we all have weaknesses. All joking aside, we all have weaknesses, and but it's the awareness of it. And how do you become aware of your weaknesses? It's feedback. The other thing is it's situational leadership. So what works if you're a leader, a senior leader, and you're moving from organization to organization, what works over here may not work over here. You have to be situationally aware, and the context is constantly changing. In a VUCA, there's terms and acronyms. Like you're in a VUCA world, everything's uncertain. So why I'm bringing that up is that that opens up weaknesses as you go up. The situational nature of it, because if no one's giving you feedback and the situational nature is dynamic and changing, then you're almost in a no-win situation as a leader, is you have a diminishing sort of capacity to lead. Josh, any reactions to that, setting the stage?
Yeah. What the hell did you just say? A VUCA space? What is that? I am unaware.
There's a VUCA leader, and it's people leading in a volatile, so VUCA.
Okay.
A volatile, changing, dynamic, uncertain. The U is uncertain environment.
Okay, gotcha.
So, which 20 years ago, leadership in all seriousness was pretty easy. Now, with technology changes and everything like that, every year the dynamics are getting more and more difficult. The unpredictability, and that's why I brought that up.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay. I just, people often talk about.
Did you think I was getting sick or something?
No, I didn't know what the heck that was. So I'm like, I got to ask.
I have to take a VUCA break here.
I live through that because I am strange. Like in the annual reviews that I would get as yes, Bob, yes, Bob knows better than many how strange I am. In my annual reviews as I was coming up the ranks, and my leader would sit down with me and they would send me the review document, or they would put it in front of me. If anything that was good, I just skipped right over. I'm like, I don't care. Like, if it's good, I can't do anything about it. Cool, I'll keep doing it. But like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, tell me, because I want to know. I really wanted to get better, and like, it drove some of the leaders I worked for crazy. I'm like, I don't care about other shit. Like, tell me where I need to get better. And then as I became a leader and responsibility grew, like, I was begging for that, searching for that, and so I started to turn over rocks and like, why is it like this? And the only reasonable explanation, I still don't believe it to be reasonable. The only reasonable explanation I got is that, hey, at this level, we expect you to just get better on your own. We don't have time to babysit you. And we're expecting that if you've made it here, you can make it to the next level on your own. Maybe you find a mentor, maybe you do something like that, but like, that's on you now. And I was like, okay, I can see that. I'm not going to be that type of leader, because one of the things that's frustrating is like, people have said to me like, oh, do you think the CEO has time to, sit down and talk with you and help you grow? I'm like, well, maybe they don't, but maybe they should, so that's a topic for another thing. But that's the only reasonable thing that has been explained to me about why that exists, that I was like, okay, I can accept that. But you do end up in a spot where you have to start mining things, and that's really the way I look at it, is what are the things that frustrate me about I'm not able to achieve. So like, one of the big ones was maybe a decade ago. I had tremendous success coaching my teams, growing my teams, but I could never seem to get the organization to move directionally the way that I thought it could. And I started to think, maybe I'm just not skilled at coaching up. And I started just asking Bob questions, and Bob coached me up on a couple different things and helped me work through that. And that I set as a goal for a whole year in whatever year it was, we'll say 2015. In 2015, this is the thing that I want to get better at. And I just had that single goal, and that's what I had. But I had to self-mine, but also there's ways where you should be talking to your teams and having those discussions to understand, what do you think I could get better at? So there's plenty of opportunity, but you're going to have to go do work to make that happen, to understand things that you need to get better at, grow, expand, whatever it might be.
I think an important, again, it goes back to feedback, but it's like being receptive to the feedback. Part of it is you're scary, so to people in general. As you grow in power, and this is a power dynamic, you're growing in power.
Whether you want it to be or not, or whether you like that it's that, it doesn't matter. That's something I really wrestled with.
It's a power dynamic, and power matters. So you're a powerful overfolk, and so there's this dynamic of it's scary to give you feedback. So from a leader's perspective, it's not just even be receptive to it. You've got to create the safety in the space. You've got to demonstrate. You've got a role model that you can handle this stuff, that you want this stuff, that you can engage this stuff. And that's that's necessary. I don't think there's any easy way. You can't send out a PowerPoint and say, I have an open door policy, or Josh is a nice guy, right? Josh tells a story that, when his presence affected stand-ups and retros. He's a sweetheart guy. He's not, it's the power. It's not the personality. It's the power in the org chart that can affect people. And you have to bend over backwards to try to get that feedback. Look for those trusted partners, and you can screw that up. One overreaction. I use Ralph Kasuba. I had such a nice relationship. I reported to Ralph, and he took feedback so nicely. But every once in a while, I'd give him some really hard feedback, and it was probably half my fault or more my fault. I delivered it poorly, and he needed an overnight to recover.
Yeah.
Right, he really did. I mean, he reacted nicely, but I could tell that he was ready to smack the crap out of me. Right, it's like, what are you talking about? You just insulted me, or you just told me, I suck or whatever. And his heart was to work really hard to be the best leader he could.
Yeah.
So he found it personally affronting too. It had hurt him personally, and he would have to go back and do that. And I could see him work. I could see him working that, and that helped me to feel the courage or whatever, or the responsibility, the partnership to give him that feedback. You have to find those partners. You're not going to get it from many. Oh, the other thing I was going to say is, as you go up in the line, how do I say this? The propensity of people schmoozing you goes
Oh
up
yeah.
as
Yeah.
well, right? And they're not evil people, but so not only do they that not give you real feedback, but oh, Josh, I love your hat. Oh my God. It wraps your cranium in such a circumpolar way. And that diagram on the front, what is that? An ogre, a lion, a horse, all of the above. Mystical.
Yeah.
It's mystical in nature. What I really want to say is take that damn hat off and put something else on. Right? But Josh didn't hear it. So people were blowing smoke up your patoot all the time. Uh, your bosses will be doing that. Feedback is so hard, so you need those truth. The way to cut through this is finding those truth tellers, and then appreciating them, paying them, giving right, sending them presents at Christmas, because you need them to grow. Josh, I'm going to stop and see if you have anything to
No, I mean,
disagree with.
one of the most painful lessons that I learned was exactly what Bob talked about. It was about the power of understanding that my title, my role in the organization carried a weight, and there was nothing I could do about it. That I was the CTO or whatever. And it didn't matter that I didn't want to be seen as that CTO or that type of leader. It's not you that people are looking at like that. It's the role, it's the title, it's to Bob's point, the power you have over those people's lives and the careers that they have. And that is an absolute scary thing. And it takes continual, consistent effort to demonstrate that you are open to hearing things, that you are open to a discussion, that you are open to someone disagreeing with you, that you are open to feedback. And you have to work really, really hard and really celebrate when it happens, especially at the beginning, because it's going to be rare, to start to demonstrate that this is something that I welcome, that I value, that is important to us and grow. And to Bob's point, you could talk about it all you want. And whether they actually do or not, in their heads, the eyes are rolling because they're like, oh yeah, every leader says that, or everybody has the open door policy, right? The open door policies that I've heard, but that is like, wait a minute, I've tried to take advantage of that or use that. Like, wait, this isn't really open door, and you're not willing to have a discussion. Like, what? Okay, so lesson learned. But it takes significant effort for you to create and maintain the environment, and maintaining is the hard part. People talk about trust and how it's like a bank account, and it's easy to withdraw and hard to deposit. So like, as soon as you break that trust because you snap on something, that then you've got even more work to do. But otherwise you're left in this void where you may feel like, how do I get better? What do I do? And that's where I've been lucky, and I've had Bob, and Bob has called me out on stuff. It's like, like, it warms my heart, but I also feel bad whenever it happens, because I can tell when Bob is ready to have a discussion with me that he knows, Josh might not like this. Bob gets a different tone, and I've seen it and heard it that I can recognize that it's coming now. It's like, and like, I feel bad because even that, right? Like Bob's worried about hurting my feelings, or
Yeah.
Bob's worried about
Yeah.
me being upset or frustrated or whatever because he cares about me. But also it's important enough to him that like, oh, my buddy needs to hear this, because if he doesn't hear from me, who else is he going to hear it from? So
Well,
Bob does those hard things, and even a friend for 15 years that really cares about me struggles to give the feedback at times, right? So, but you have to find a way to make that an open door, like a really open door.
well, another important part of this, everyone, is weakness improvement. So getting the feedback is the one side. And part of what I'm going to say next is related to the feedback. In order to get the feedback, I'll go back to Ralph, and Josh falls into this category as well. Not everyone falls into it. Is they receive the feedback, and then they do something with the feedback. And so, as a feedback giver, I'm not giving feedback. Like when I have that hard delivery to Josh, as an example, I'm not so much worried about hurting his feelings. I don't care about feelings, no. But I'm actually internalizing. I'm like, what is the best way I could give the feedback so that Josh can receive it in the right way? So, so yes, it's about it, but it's am I, what are the words I can use? What is the phrasing I can use? What is the tone I can use to be effective? Because my heart is I want to give Josh the best feedback I can. But then I also want, once I do that, I'd like to see him improve. Maybe not on every feedback item, but I want to see the reception and the action. And if I don't see that, I'll stop giving feedback. And this is important for leaders. So you want to be improving. You want to be doing something with the feedback. It's important that you take some action somewhere, sometime on that. And it's not something you don't report back, like Josh doesn't report back to me. I want to see it in the behavior. I want to see it somehow on the outbound side of things, and that's important. That's part. Otherwise, people will shut it off because they're wasting their time. If they're giving you feedback and you're not doing anything with it, then they're just wasting their time. And again, it'll go back. Silence is the enemy, Metacasters. You have weaknesses, and it's situational. So new job, new company, new teams. It's the weaknesses. Different weaknesses will pop up. So it's a moving target all the time. You need that dynamic feedback in order to make those adjustments. Josh?
Yeah, something I want to point out to people. We're making a big deal out of the lack of externally provided feedback, of somebody walking in and giving you the gift of feedback. We've talked about framing it as a gift. I view it as that. Other people don't. People have challenged me on that. That's fine. It's a gift. I view it as a gift because it's a way for me to accelerate my growth and a way for me to become better, and maybe in ways that I wasn't seeing. But I was raised in a world of playing sports where we're constantly trying to find those like little slivers, those little edges of things that we could do, where people think about watching game film. We actually watched film of every practice. So we went back and would watch how we performed every drill and every practice. And that's another way for us to get better. And while somebody might not be screaming, hey, Josh, you suck at this, you should get better at that, which is what coaches do, right? There's plenty of information out there for you in your organization for you to mine and figure out something's not right. You know all of those things that aren't working as well as you would like them to be. Maybe it's your hiring process. Maybe it's the way you ship your products. Maybe it's the way your customers tend to not adopt your features as quickly as you would like. There are signals all over there. It might not be somebody yelling at you. In fact, more often than not, it's not somebody shouting at you. So this is one of those like superpowers that you have to be able to go figure out of what are all the things that are frustrating me, and what could I be doing to make those better? Is there something in my leadership approach that is stunting our capability to go achieve goals X, Y, and Z? And so you have to be real honest with yourself and be willing to look at the tape and be willing to evaluate everything that would happen. But it takes effort and energy. So again, like I go back to before every practice, we spent an hour every position group watching film of the previous day's practice to try and get better. So that just put me in a mode where like it doesn't everybody do it. It turns out not everybody does it. But that's how I do it. So I'm constantly watching the tape of the previous week or the previous day or the previous meeting and thinking about, okay, what do I wish could have been better? And then what are ways that I'm willing to try and figure that out? So yes, it's easier. It's nicer when somebody brings it to you very well packaged and says like, hey Josh, like you really need to fix this. Whenever you're presenting to the team, the tone you're taking is inappropriate, whatever. But there's also an endless amount of data that's out there for you to figure out and just look, but you have to invest the time and energy to go figure that out. So yes, there's a little bit of like, oh, you don't get it, but also you do if you start to tune into it and try and figure it out.
I love that you brought that up, Josh. So to me, Josh, wrapping that up, that was a really wordy way of saying internal reflection, right?
How dare you say something was a real wordy way, Captain Wordy Way.
I know. I clearly recognize the absurdity of that comment, right? So I was just kidding around, but it's a really important point that personal reflection. I've always, like I do a lot of journaling and things like that, and I do a lot of personal reflection. That's probably the most impactful feedback I get is from there rather than external sources. It's what am I seeing or what am I not seeing? Right. So everyone, I'll give you a real crisp example of that. Are you getting criticism right now in your job as a leader? Are you getting criticism? Are you getting weakness identification? Are you getting critical, crucial conversation feedback? I would venture most of you would say, no, you're not getting that. Then I would say that is not an ecosystem problem. That is not an external problem. That is you.
Right.
Okay, stop. Now start reflecting, what am I doing to stop that feedback? And what can I do to encourage that sort of feedback? That's your internal reflection. And run some experiments. You don't have to get a survey. Are people telling me that I'm full of crap? So the crapometer. If the crapometer is at 0, point 1, you are crappy. You are full of crap, whether you know it or not. And if the crapometer is at 0, then you need to raise that because you don't even know where you're full of crap and where you're not. You need help from your team, from these wonderful people around you. Activate everyone around you to help you be better. And so start running some experiments. Do I call myself out? Do I ask for feedback? What can I do to get that? Do I find a partner, a mentor? Do I talk to Josh? I need a partner. Do I do all of those things? And the measure of whatever you're doing is effective. Are you getting what's happening on your crapometer? Right? If it's still 0, you have more work to do. If it's going up, hey, I'm starting to see some light here, and this is fantastic. I need to lean into that more.
Yeah, and given the concerns that your organization will have around the power and the role that you're in, you have to set your personal expectations low. Not for the change that's going to be made, but for the time it's going to take to make those changes.
Yeah.
Because you are unwinding things and recreating a new paradigm that people are going to start to second guess because it is different. And like we go back to no feedback. The reason people aren't giving you the feedback is probably because they tried and it was like shouting into the ocean and like nothing ever happened. Like, well, that was a waste of time, or maybe even backfired. Right. So now they're even more gun shy or more scared. So you have to overcome that.
Well, let me can I step in real quick, John? Yeah. Or it may not even be you, Metacasters. Yeah. It may be trauma that happened 3 jobs ago where someone was working for a tyrant and they shut down. They completely shut down, and then they moved to jobs, and now you have them. So so you have to. I mean, I'm doubling down on what Josh said. There's some work. You're gonna have to be patient with it, but you're also gonna have to realize that situational nature, and you're not gonna get feedback from everyone. That trauma person, they may need to work through that. I remember when I was at Contact, there was one guy, and he didn't trust me the
Right.
entire time I was there. He didn't trust, he thought I was lying about trusting the team. You don't trust the team. It was funny. I mean, not funny, but
Yeah, yeah,
I would
yeah.
walk away from the conversation going, you don't know my heart. My heart is actually to trust the team, and I wish you would embrace that, but he didn't. So it can be you, and it can be other things. You just have to work through that. Josh,
Yeah.
can I say something real quick? I think one of the impediments, I'm just going to put it out there, is we're not humble enough as most leaders are obnoxiously full of themselves. So I think there is a phenomenon as you go up in scale, you get more power, but I also think your humility drains out of your body, your humbleness. Not everyone, but a lot of people, they just get full of themselves. They think they're right all the time.
Yeah. And I think this is part of the problem because the feedback isn't happening for various reasons. For all of the reasons that we talked about. Previous jobs that people had, the environment that you've created, maybe the environment that the company has that you're walking into. Maybe it's a bit of a toxic
Yeah.
environment and you're coming and you're trying to change that. So there's this existing expectation of how things are received, and that just doesn't work. So because the feedback, which is why this episode is so important, because the feedback diminishes as your responsibility grows, what I see is many people just start assuming, oh, I'm crushing it. Like I'm the best boss ever, because people always told me, because I always heard from my boss or whatever that I wasn't good. So now,
Yeah.
since no one's telling me I'm not doing a good job, that means I'm doing a great job. Well, Bob and I are here to tell you that's wrong. You're still not great at some things, and that's okay. We all are. We all have to get better at things.
Yep.
The challenge that you have as you step into these roles is that active feedback coming at you, telling you these are the things you need to get better, really diminishes, and sometimes like overnight. So to Bob's point, if you aren't hearing feedback, don't assume that's a good thing. Maybe even assume that's a bad thing.
is a
Assume
bad
the
thing.
relationships with your boss or your team or your peers aren't good enough and strong enough that they are unwilling to provide you the feedback that I'm sure they talk about with their buddies at lunch or when they go out for drinks with their peers or whatever. Like, man, that Josh
Yep.
guy, like that new guy that came in, what is he doing? Like, I just can't work with him. And so people will have those conversations, but not with you. And so you don't know about it potentially until it's too late. So we are here to tell you that you have things you need to work on, and it's your responsibility to go figure those things out. And that's the takeaway I want for everybody is after you listen to this, sit down, reflect, spend some time, figure out that one thing that you need to get better at. Maybe no one's even telling you about it. In fact, they probably aren't, because you have to figure it out on your own. But that's what we want everybody to go do.
So takeaways for me, key takeaway is you're not getting feedback. One, all of the people that I think of who are good at this are humble in their core. Ralph was humble at his core. I try to be humble at my core. Josh is humble at their core. Other people are humble at their core. We aspire not to be assholes. We aspire not to be full of ourselves. But there's a lot of leaders, and you're not evil. It's because you've not got anything and you've gotten full of yourself. So one thing is, get rid of that immediately. Get rid of that. I know everything. I am God. I am the decision maker. I'm the best architect on the planet. No, you're good. You have skills. Have a healthy ego. Don't have an unhealthy ego. That's going to get in your way. So you have to humble yourself to your weaknesses, humble yourself to your teams, be humble enough to try things that you hear, and then work on it patiently. I think that's something I want everyone to take away is you have to earn that feedback. You have to do something with it. But our egos, I almost see this inevitably, egos get in the way. And they've been stroked along the way, right? Directly and indirectly. So look in the mirror, reduce your ego a little bit, go out there, humble yourself, and start looking for that feedback, and then do something.
You know what I've been
Josh?
trying to do for like the last 12 hours leading up to this? as I figured out this was something we were talking. I've been trying to find a way to make the words weakness and seeker rhyme, and they kind of do. Like I wanted it to be like a weaker seeker or something like that, or the weakness seeker, but like it just never felt right. So hopefully somebody is listening to this and can come back and give me a good snazzy snappy name that we can use and we can start putting out there, and maybe people will start to get better at this, because this is one of those big hurdles that I do see a lot of leaders really struggle with. So this is an important, as you can tell, I kind of got fired up about this. So this is an important thing.
I'm glad you brought it up, Josh. I think we landed it.
Oh yeah.
So Metacasters, we all, Josh and I, especially Josh and I have weaknesses, and we all do. Yep. And what are we going to do about it? Under this banner, this responsibility, this awesome responsibility of called leadership. Look in the mirror, ladies and gentlemen. From beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina, I'm Bob Galen.
And beautiful downtown Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina, I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake
and bake.
Take care, y'all.